Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli, it's leaving I levy. No sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit on my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We've got some Monday Night Football action coming on between the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. And I would say that, like it was for all of our games yesterday, running back injuries, and in this case, even more than just running back injuries across the board, are the big storyline in this game. So, as I'm sure many people have heard by now, the Rams were struck with a little COVID wave. I think the whole NFL was struck with the COVID wave. 37 positive tests today. And the Rams have lost 3 pretty key players, as well as a couple depth pieces due to that. So, Ben, who are the Rams going to be without tonight?
That's a good question. I know 2 of them, and I don't have the other 2 in front of me, but they will be without Darrell Henderson, running back, and Jalen Ramsey, one of their corners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and offensive tackle, correct?
Yeah, so let's pull up the full list. So Tyler Higbee, tight end, is another missing piece. Rob Havenstein, right tackle, is out. And I believe that's it. But on offense, Henderson and Higbee are really important misses. And Jalen Ramsey, one of the top couple corners in the league, is going to be out. So some pretty big injuries for the Rams. On the Cardinals side, they are not escaping this one fully healthy. They, earlier this week, had Chase Edmonds, that they had designated to return from injured reserve. I think that the conventional thinking was that he was going to be back for today, but they announced that he is not going to be playing tonight either. So some pretty big injury news on both sides. All of that said, Arizona is the home team, and they are favored by 3 points in this game, and we have the over-under set at 51. So, Ben, the first thing that I want to talk about is the spread that we're seeing right here. So, earlier in the week, before we had all of these injuries, Henderson, Ramsey, Higbee, Havenstein on the Rams side, this was sitting at Cardinals minus 2.5. So, I want to talk about that line move specifically, going from 2.5 to 3 in response to these injuries. What is your thought on that?
Well, my thought is sitting at minus 2.5, plus 2.5. The books, every book has been getting significant action all week on the Cardinals, right? Mm-hmm. Like they've been getting heavy action on Arizona. And then, of course, when Sunday Night Football kind of comes to an end, people shift their focus, and then now a lot of the public money comes in. Even though it's been coming in all week, you really start to see it. And then that news came out, right? The news with some of these COVID players being out, and it's only shifted a half a point. So it's really interesting because I think a lot of the sharper bettors are on the Rams tonight. And I think the biggest reason for that has to be McVay and his success against Kyler Murray in the past. He's shut him down in a few games. I think 4-1 all time against Murray, and the one loss came this season. So there's a lot of recency bias, I think, that people are looking at with the Cardinals. They see that the Cardinals blew the Rams out last game. I think that was in October. And that's why this line is just kind of chilling here at -3.
Yeah, so I think on the one hand, I think that the guys that the Rams are missing are worth more than half a point. The other important thing, though, is that it was kind of nestled up against a key number. So it was a convenient move to just take it from 2.5 to 3. And I think that the books will be happy with it sitting at 3. I think somebody pretty recently posted a graphic in the Discord going state by state and which team has the most money tonight. And across the board, it is Arizona, which is not so surprising. So maybe from that perspective, it is a little bit surprising that this didn't cross to 3.5. At the same time, though, I know I liked it earlier in the week at 2.5. I would have been ready to jump on it again to double dip, even with the injuries, if it did hit 3.5. So I think it's not so surprising that it settled on 3. And yeah, pick 6. You're exactly right. Yeah, takes a lot to move a number past a key number.
Yeah, but at the same time, the books can move to -120 if need be. I mean, maybe there's a few spots that you'll see that on the Cardinals side. You'll see that at times throughout the week. But one thing I always like to mention to people is the books aren't in the business of trying to get 50% of the money on each side. And there's a lot of misconception about that, because if they wanted to, and if that was the objective, they would move this to -4, maybe -4.5, Nick.
Yeah.
If they really wanted 50% on each side. What they're attempting to do in their eyes is find the spot where they believe they have a 50-50 probability of Team A and Team B both covering.
Yeah, I mean, and they're trying to maximize the money that they make. It's a business. You set the line that you think is going to win you the most money. And if having 65-70% of the money on Arizona, if you think that that's a profitable way to set this line, then you're going to do it.
Absolutely. There's a level of risk tolerance that goes into it versus what their numbers show, and then the action from their sharper, influential bettors, and it all kind of formulates into what we're getting tonight. So, and thank you, T. Cherry, for re-upping your subscription.
Yeah.
Michael Parsons for
9 months.
Player of the Year. I like how he threw in the message. That's great marketing for Michael Parsons.
Yeah,
I think did look really good.
I think if he wins, he has nothing to thank except for T. Cherry putting deep defensive player of the year in his resub message.
Yep. Exactly.
Also, Profit and Pick 6. Thank you guys for the follows earlier. Appreciate those very much.
Yep. Thanks, guys. So, Nick, total wise, I forgot. Did this move down from 51.5 to 51?
So I think so. It opened up at 51, or at least the look ahead was at 51. I think earlier in the week it had moved up. It was up to 52, even 52.5 at times, but has dropped back down to 51. I think that move happened earlier this morning, though, even before the injury news. I think that as far as the total is concerned, the injuries are kind of a net neutral thing, right? We're missing one of the best defensive players in the league, which is good for more point scoring, and we're missing a couple pretty good offensive players, which is good for less point scoring. So overall, I think it does kind of even out. The other thing that I think is interesting is what the model has here. And Seawaltz, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So the model, this is taking most of the injuries into account. The Edmonds news broke too late for us to be able to rerun the Sims. But this is taking into account Higbee being out, Darrell Henderson being out. Jalen Ramsey being out is not taken into account because the model can't account for individual defensive players. But we have this one as a Rams win outright in a really low-scoring game. We're looking at about 22.86 to 20.46 in favor of the Rams. So that's a Rams -2, -2.5 type of deal. And a total closer to 43, 43.5 as opposed to 51. So I think that with these teams, the offenses get a lot of the attention. You've got Kyler Murray one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Matthew Stafford, now that he's getting healthy, probably also a top 10 quarterback in the league, I would say. But these defenses are really solid as well. The Cardinals defense, part of it is just due to how good their offense is, but the defense has been pretty good this year. And the Rams have really, really elite talent on all three levels of the defense. Although that being said, again, Ramsey is out today. So I like the under here. I think that this total is a little bit too high. We've got some effective ground games. That's good for chewing clock. We've got some quarterbacks who are, or at least one quarterback who is good at running the ball in Kyler Murray. And what that's good for is that's good for moving the chains without big plays. And even though that's efficient, effective offense, it's not necessarily good for a high-scoring game. It is worth noting that this finishes a 37-20 game last time out. So that is over on this number, and that is a Cardinals cover, of course, on this number, or really any reasonable number. But I'm kind of expecting both of those to flip the second time around.
So, Nick, I really believe that this total, whether it goes over or whether it goes under, comes down to the Rams' offense and how they approach this game. And the reason I say that is because if the Rams stick to how they played more traditionally throughout the course of the season and against the Cardinals in the past, with trying to run a more high-tempo passing game, I think that could get this over because they're going to just try to move the ball quickly, and there could be a lot of 3-and-outs. But what I really expect in this one is for the Rams to try to take advantage of what the Cardinals are not good at, and that's defending the run. And the Cardinals are near the bottom in the league in stopping the run. And I think McVay is smart enough that he understands this, and I think Sony Michelle is going to have to get 20, 25 carries, which sounds crazy, but that is one way to keep the ball out of Murray's hands also, and I think that's maybe one of the best ways to defend him, and that could really just strain the clock. Kind of what we see with the Chargers at times.
Yeah.
Where they're really efficient, but you're like, wow, that was a 7-minute drive, and they scored a touchdown, but
it's exactly.
7 minutes.
It's efficiency and tempo, right? It's points per minute or points per play and how many plays you run. You can have an offense that goes out and throws the ball every play, runs a hurry-up offense. But if they can't complete it, if they can't move the chains, if they don't have any kind of deep threat, they're just not going to score, even though the tempo is really high. And on the other hand, we can see a team that's very efficient at moving the chains. If you get like a 15-play, 10-minute scoring drive, it's extremely efficient football, but it's not good for a high-scoring game either.
Yeah. And pick sixes, how often does a non-quarterback player move the model more than 1 point?
Very rarely. I think the only kinds of guys that'll move the model, our model at least, by that kind of thing, are quarterbacks, of course, which can have very, very significant impacts. And really star players on teams where they don't have a lot of depth in those spots, which is not something that we see with either of these teams. So, for example, taking Darrell Henderson out did practically nothing because Sony Michelle is very capable of picking up that slack. Whereas, say with the Titans, when Derrick Henry went out, that was a situation where putting in the likes of Deontay Foreman really did have a bigger impact on what the model said.
So the answer is it's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. It depends on the team. It depends on the player. It depends on the opponent and the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent also.
And we'll get into that when we hop into the props too, because we'll have some guys essentially we'll have to talk about who are kind of replacing the players that are out.
Yeah. So anyways, before we hop into the props.
Yeah, lean under. Are we thinking lean under? And
I'm thinking lean under, and we're thinking Rams as well.
Yeah, Rams as well. I think they went outright still. I know that's bold. It's bold, but I'm really going off of McVay and what he's done against Murray. And I know, again, one game this year. Obviously, we have to have it hold some weight. It was this season. But I still think that there's a lot of recency bias on that performance, and I'm still confident that the Rams defensively can slow down Murray. And here's a player that I think could be an X factor tonight that not a lot of people are talking about. I haven't heard his name one time on Twitter, Discord, Reddit, MySpace. Von Miller. Von Miller, he's going to be in there in those third down type plays, passing plays for the Cardinals, or against the Cardinals for the Rams. And he's a guy who still has some speed. I mean, he ran a 4.5 coming out of college. I know he's
was
not
that like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while back.
You could have run a 4.5 15 years ago.
4.5, 4.8 maybe. But I think Von Miller is going to be ready to go. And the thing with Von is he's very elusive, and he knows how to get to the quarterback. He's smart. Like, you see a lot of guys, they come flying off the edge, right? And then what does Murray do? Jukes, steps in. Von Miller's a smart player, so watch for that tonight.
All right. So yeah, my very quick take on this is I think earlier in the week before these injuries, I had both of these same leans. I was a little bit more confident in the Rams covering and a little bit less confident in the under. I do think that with the news today, my preferences on those have flipped, but I still do like both of these.
Yeah.
So, Chaz, first time chat, welcome to the stream, says, hey, let's get into some props. And I could not agree more. You ready, Ben?
Yep.
So, as always, starting out with the passing yards market, we have Kyler Murray over under 268.5, Matthew Stafford over under 283.5. Either of these guys tickle your fancy?
These are both tough numbers because I think both of these are dependent on what happens in the game tonight. And that scares me.
Like, you're talking game flow?
Yeah, game flow.
They're extremely dependent on what happens in the game. I think they're entirely dependent on that.
That was a very broad statement. No, you're right. It's more about how the game flows and what happens in the game, because if the Rams are up, Stafford number is going under.
Yeah.
Big time. And I don't want to put too many eggs in one basket and just give out a bunch of props that kind of lean towards that thinking. So that's how I feel about Stafford. Now with Murray, I think this one going over could happen even if up or down. But I'm still staying away. I do lean over there, but I'm staying away from that one.
Yeah. So I think the thing with Murray is we have to remember that he's been hurt. He missed several games with an injury, came back last week against the Bears, and only threw the ball 15 times in that game. I don't know how much of that is due to just the fact that the Cardinals were so effective on the ground. James Conner had a good game on the ground, and Kyler Murray himself had 10 carries for 59 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. So they didn't really have to throw the ball. At the same time, though, he hasn't been tested since coming back through there. So there is just a little bit of uncertainty there. If we're talking about Murray over. I will say, though, and Larry actually just brought this up in the chat as well. On Stafford, the thing that I actually really like is the under in pass attempts. So this number right now is sitting at 39.5, I believe, for Stafford. On the year, Stafford, let me pull his page back up real quick. But I think he's only gone over this number 3 times all year. So he had 41 in that loss to Arizona earlier in the year. And that does also set a baseline for if the Rams are down and needing to throw the ball. We have a comparison point from earlier this year for Stafford. 41 pass attempts, 280 yards. Also against Detroit, kind of weirdly, in Week 7, that was a 9-point Rams win. He threw the ball 41 times there. He had 48 against Tennessee in a loss, 41 against San Francisco in a loss. And both of those were him kind of coming back from his... or when he was really dealing with his back injury. So I guess 4 times he's gone over this number, not 3. But the Cardinals, this is where the number 3 is. They've only allowed 3 quarterbacks to cross 40 attempts on the year. Again, 41 against Stafford earlier, 40 against Jimmy Garoppolo and Niners, and then 41 from Andy Dalton last week. So I think that this 39.5 attempts is really like the highest number that it kind of could be if we look at how the Cardinals defense has performed and how Stafford has performed. So I think the under here. Yeah, thanks to the follow, Chess. I think the under here is a good look.
So Nick, I was going to say, I think there's got to be some correlation with why quarterbacks aren't flying over this number and their run defense, right? There's got to be something there.
Yeah, it's a couple things. And remember, the Cardinals are a good team. We expect teams to have to pass against them. Right? So you would, from that perspective, expect attempts numbers to be kind of high, but they're just not.
Yeah.
So speaking of their run D, do you want to head on to the rushing yards or rushing prop market?
Yeah.
So only 3 guys with numbers today. We have James Conner over under 60.5, Kyler Murray over under 30.5 on the Cardinals, and on the Rams side we have Sony Michelle over under 69.5. So I know what your lean is, but tell us what it is.
Yeah, so my lean is Sony Michelle over 69.5 rushing yards.
And why is that?
There's a few reasons why. One, I've already mentioned a few times. Arizona struggles defending the run. They've averaged 4.66 yards per carry to running backs on the season. Also, Sony Michelle is just going to be the volume guy. I mean, they have a backup, I'm spacing his name, from Iowa. I think he only had 2 touches last game out of the backfield.
Yeah, it's Mekhi Sargent.
Yeah, Mekhi Sargent.
Mickey, I don't know how to say his first name.
Yeah, they're going to give the ball to Sony Michelle quite a bit in this one. I think he could have 20 carries. And not only that, this Cardinals team has really struggled giving up explosive runs. Now, I will say Sony Michelle isn't one of the fastest backs you'll see in the league, but at the same time, I do also believe that this Cardinals team, they like to have more of a bend but don't break type defense. So I think a lot of times you'll see safeties back a little bit. They're not going to give up the deep ball. The linebackers aren't cheating on the run. I was watching some film just to see if that was true from some past games, and it certainly was. You can just see how they react to play action. So they're very sound. They don't want to give up big plays out of the passing game. So it's going to open up some holes where Sony Michelle can get 4 or 5 yards here and there. He'll probably have a few rushes over 10. And I just think with those two things, this is going to go over. I think he ends up with around 80 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I like that. I like this one a lot, actually. So Michelle has started 2 games this year. He started week 3 against Tampa and last week against Jacksonville, against probably the second best running in the league in Tampa. 20 carries for 67 yards. So a lot of volume, and honestly, 3.5 yards per carry against that run D is respectable. Mm-hmm. And then against Jacksonville last week, he played 97% of the snaps, 24 carries, 121 yards. I mean, they were up big in that game, so you should expect kind of ground and pound to be the MO. But even if he's in that 20 carries as opposed to 24 carry range, I think against this run D, this number could fly over.
Yeah, and last week against the Jags, they were just giving him the ball in the fourth quarter. Everyone knew they were going to be running, right? Mm-hmm. And he still was breaking 4 or 5 yards, and I think he had a 20-yard rush late in that fourth quarter, even with 7 guys in the box. So he's a guy who gets the ball, makes a quick cut, and he's downhill runner. So he's going to have a good average tonight. He's not trying to get cute and bend it out. Like, he's going to get positive yards, and they're going to start to add up. So, and thank you, Almeida, for the follow.
Yeah, so Ace Man
was killing me. I started laughing when you were talking.
haven't seen you in a while. Hope all has been good.
Hopefully you haven't been tearing your rectal hole.
Yeah, no. Hopefully, that's more important reasons. Yeah, it needs Sony Michelle to tear his rectum hole to win in fantasy. That's like a very specific injury.
Very
right?
personal.
So if he breaks his femur or something, you're still going to lose. But your league awards points or like negative points for rectum hole size. So as his gets torn and grows, your opponent will lose points, and you'll be good.
If for some reason that happened
you
tonight,
you can like go to the stadium and do that yourself.
I'll be like, are we living in a simulation? If they're like, yeah, so I'm here on the sideline
with Sony Michelle.
I'll be like, what the hell? Ace Man's he was seeing the future.
It's just a lower body injury.
Yeah.
So
right,
on the
so we have Sony Michelle. What
Sony
about
Michelle.
these other two guys?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. So I actually also really like James Conner to go over this number. So if you look at the model, it has him down more like 45.7. But these sims, again, were run with the assumption that Chase Edmonds was going to be playing. And Chase Edmonds is not playing. So his about 7 carries and about 30 yards that the model saw him getting can pretty much all go to Conner. In the same way that Michelle played 97% of snaps last week, Connor's been seeing, he saw 91% of snaps last week, 80 plus the 2 weeks before. Benjamin's not going to get volume, aside from just when Connor's tired. He's going to be out there the whole game. The Rams' run D is pretty good. Definitely much better than the Cardinals, but still. I think just as a volume play, 61.5 for Conner looks really good. But you know what I actually like even more than the rushing number for Conner is actually the rushing plus receiving number. Gonna kind of skip ahead because it's relevant right now. But James Conner rushing plus receiving is at 87.5. So what I found really interesting is the massive uptick in the passing game that Connor's been getting recently. And on the one hand, it's no surprise. Chase Edmonds has kind of played that role in the season until he got hurt. But in the last few weeks, so week 9 where Edmonds played literally 1 snap and then got hurt. So from week 9 on, Conner has had 5 catches for 77 yards, 3 catches for 25 yards, 5 catches for 37 yards, 2 catches for 36 yards in those 4 games. The entire season up until that point, he had 5 catches for less than 40 yards. So he's getting like what earlier in the season was like an entire season's worth of passing numbers. He's getting that pretty much every game now. So I think that
he's passed the eye test too. Like watching him.
No, Connor's great. Connor's an excellent back. So I think that doing the rushing plus receiving, I kind of like the rushing over and the receiving over for Conner. And I think just adding them up, paying the couple yard tax on it to get the rushing plus receiving, I think that this is the much better play because it removes the game flow dependency. Yeah,
and also let's say the Cardinals break this one open, right? Connor's going to get 5-10 extra carries in that fourth quarter. So I think you also have that kind of coupled with receiving. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So last guy to talk about here is Kyler Murray at 31.5 rushing yards. What are your thoughts there?
Don't really have a lot of thoughts. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
have
a whole lot of thoughts either. Kyler Murray's volume has been pretty consistent all year, kind of 5 to 7 carries. Aside from week 10 last week, he'd been in that range literally every game. And then I think it's just a matter of if it's 5, this probably goes under. If it's closer to 7, it goes over. And I don't want to split hairs on the volume for the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. So Nick, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
I've been looking more at these explosive defenses and how they play against the pass and their rates.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ace Man, you went to Pitt? I went to Pitt.
Oh, nice.
That's fun.
James Conner. So, Nick, in this game, the Cardinals are the worst team in the NFL giving up explosive run plays. Now, on the pass defense side of things, they're the second best team. Do you think if there's correlation there with if a team is really good at not giving up big runs or is versus giving up big passes, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think it makes sense, right? So, I mean, if you are really committing to stopping those deep balls, what does that mean? That means you're probably playing high safeties pretty consistently, which means that they're in line to be out of position against the run. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're committing to the run and not really allowing any big plays, it's easier to get beat over the top. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Is this your new favorite stat?
I've been actually using it for the last 5 weeks, and I didn't really want to bring it up until I had some success with it.
The second time you've brought it up in this week.
Yeah, because I don't want to just find like this new metric and day one I'm like, oh, check this out when I have no validity to it. But it is interesting just to see some of the teams, and it's no surprise when you see them. You can also see it for offensive teams, right? You can see how they perform. Are they getting explosive plays? Like the Broncos, for example, not a lot of explosive plays out of the passing game, but in the run game, yes. So, yeah, interesting numbers.
I explosive plays does kind of worry me as a stat because it is kind of by definition based on only a couple plays.
Yeah.
So there's a luck factor involved in addition to skill factors. You have to really combine it with an eye test.
And you also would need to know, especially in pass attempts, like this, how many times they were attempting an explosive pass first, because run is kind of lucky, right? Like guy could be out of position, he gets a 12-yard run, right? Yeah. But pass is interesting because they categorize it as over 20 yards, I believe.
Sounds right.
So, yeah. But anyways.
Yeah. So, yeah, Ace, I did my graduate degree there. Graduated 2020. That's my Pitt experience. Did my undergrad at JMU and then grad school at Pitt. I was not there with James Conner. I taught many players, 5 players on this year's football team.
That's why they were so good this year, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're so good. I had their long snapper as a student in my class. He won the national award for long snapper of the year.
I have some questions on that.
I don't really know how they grade long snappers. But
they have like a chart.
I'm sure there's a way.
Quad. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like snapping accuracy and then like on punts, getting down the field and making tackles also. On field goals, just not allowing
that's true.
Pressure. But anyways, enough about long snappers. I don't think we have any long snapper props today.
Not today.
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. But we do have some receiving props.
Let's talk about the Cardinals first because I have a really interesting player I want to touch on.
Okay. So on the Cardinals, we have AJ Green, over under 37.5. Christian Kirk, 48.5. DeAndre Hopkins, 66.5. James Conner, who we touched on a little earlier, 22.5. Rondelle Moore, 26.5. Zach Ertz, 40.5. So who's your interesting guy?
The guy I want to talk about is Rondelle Moore, and this is why. So if you go through the last few games, he's only had a long reception of 8, 11, 7, 9, and 9 yards for his longest reception. Rondelle Moore, one of the fastest players in the NFL. So I didn't have enough time today to cook this up and do the research on it, so maybe you or someone in the chat knows this. But are they attempting long passes with him and they're just not connecting? Or what's going on there? Because earlier in the season, he was being utilized. I mean, he had a 77-yard touchdown, 29-yard pass, 16, 33, and then it's died down.
I mean, even those aren't long passes for the most part. Right? I mean, like a 16, what are like the actual couple longest? And I think with Moore, it's all yak, right? It's not getting targeted down the field.
But it was earlier in the season, though.
Was it? Though?
I mean, they were taking shots. I remember the game against the Rams. They had a few deep balls and they didn't connect. And I was like, because I had his over, I'm genuinely asking. I don't know if they just stop taking deep threats with him. Again, back to my favorite metric, Nick. Cardinals number 2 team in explosive pass rate, but it's not Rondelle Moore, obviously.
So you know what's interesting? His yards per reception this year is 8.8. There's no way this is right. Oh, yeah. So Rondelle Moore this year, yards before catch, 0.4 on the season. Yards after catch is 8.4.
Yeah, so Big Jerry says a lot of screens.
Yeah, it's screens. They're looking to get the ball in the player's hands. And I think that the fact that he's literally had 20 total yards downfield combined on all of his catches when he caught the ball. I mean, that shows. I mean, yeah. So some of the screens, you're subtracting some yards there. They're a couple of yards behind the line of scrimmage. But just as a deep threat, getting position on a corner down the field, say, it's just not effective. So there is no deep threat. It's all yak.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, 26.5 is his number today. I think 14.5 is his longest reception. And I guess it makes sense if they're not taking shots with him down the field. If you are playing an over in total yards or longest reception, you better hope he breaks some tackles.
Yeah, I mean that's all it is, right?
Really interesting though, to me at least, because he's one of the fastest players in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he just has to still develop those down the field skills. And the other thing, he's 5'7".
Yep.
Like there is no deep threat at 5'7" unless you have tons of separation.
Well, I mean, he could get open, but also at the same time, like that makes you limited as a wide receiver, right? If you're only running deep post, go, or a screen, right?
Well, I mean, like what other receivers are successful at 5'7"?
Tyreek Hill.
Is Tyreek Hill really that short? Isn't he like 5'9"?
I mean, I think he's 5'10", so 5'9".
Yeah, 5'10". I mean, yeah, that's a huge difference.
No, they're adding an inch though, right there.
Well, but if they're adding an inch to everybody,
wait, Rondelle Moore's 5'7"?
Yeah, Rondelle Moore's 5'7".
Oh shit, I thought he was at least 5'9".
No, he's like tiny. He's 5'7", 180.
Well, Nick, the only time like height really makes a difference is contested.
Yeah, but that's exactly what a deep ball is, right? A shot down the field like that, unless you're wide open.
Yeah,
you're not going to go up and catch that over any cornerback.
You gotta be a burner. I think where height comes into play is when you have anywhere from 5 to 15 yards when you have guys draped on you when you can't get separation. That's kind of how I always looked at it.
I think there's a reason why a lot of the kind of stereotypical deep threats are tall and slot guys are short.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just broadly speaking. There'll be exceptions in both directions, but
yeah,
broadly speaking, I think that's a trend. And yeah, Tyreek Hill is a very unique player.
So is Rondelle Moore, though.
Everybody's unique in their own way.
Yeah,
you're unique. Yeah. I'm unique.
I think Rondelle Moore is going to probably go for 50 yards tonight just because we've been dogging on him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still think that this number is pretty reasonable at 26.5. Let me move the model over here.
He's also been getting carries, too, out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the model has him at 31 or so, which I think is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, he ran a 4.29. Oh, my God, that's fucking fast.
Yeah, he's fast.
You know what I would do if I were them? I would take more, or I would at least have him run more deep routes and then hit guys like Kirk and Hopkins and Green. Maybe they're doing that. I haven't watched as much Cardinal. Yeah, I haven't watched as much Cardinals football as maybe some of you have. So
yeah, no, stuff like that's not going to show up in the box score.
Okay. Anyways, enough talking about him. I actually don't like many of the Cardinals receiving props at all, to be honest.
No, neither do I. The one that I actually kind of think is interesting is Zach Ertz at 40.5 and the under on that number. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of think it's a little bit too high with DeAndre Hopkins back. So Ertz this year with the Cardinals. Here's game by game receiving yards numbers. 66, 42, 27, 46, 88, 10. The last few weeks. And with Hopkins out for a few weeks, Ertz had a lot of those best games. So, I mean, Hopkins missed weeks 9 through 12. And in those, Ertz had his 3 highest target numbers since he's been with the Cardinals. Turn that into 3 catches for 27, 4 for 86, 8 for 88. And in the games without Hopkins, I mean, he had 66 in his first game with the team, where, of course, they're going to kind of scheme for him. 4 catches on 4 targets for 42 yards. And then 1 catch on 2 targets for 10 yards. So I'm kind of thinking with Hopkins back, Ertz's volume is just going to go down a little bit. I think this 40.5 is kind of at the upper end of what a reasonable Ertz number is. So I do lean the under on that.
I don't really have too strong of an opinion. I think everything you said was pretty valid.
Yeah, so what about the Rams? We've got Cooper Kupp over under 97.5. We've got Odell Beckham Jr. over under 49.5. Sony Michelle 16.5. Van Jefferson 53.5. That's it. They're going to have more guys out there, but it's guys that are kind of hard to forecast what the volume is going to be and what the efficiency is going to be.
Nick, you're not going to like this.
You like Kupp's under?
I do.
So for reference, I need Cooper Kupp to have like the best game a wide receiver's ever had to lose my or to win my fantasy matchup.
And never say never.
It's possible. If there's a guy who's going to do it, it's him.
So I actually like his receptions over 7.5. Maybe it's higher now. It was earlier in the day. Also, this number was 92.5 before the Higbee news broke. So it's gone up 5.
I think that's a reasonable increase. I don't necessarily think that makes it bad value, just because of the information that we have.
No, that's true. I mean, you just have to ask yourself, is it warranted to go up 5? But
I think so.
I think Van Jefferson and Beckham are going to have one of those guys is definitely going over, and I think Beckham has progressed the way I've expected him to. I've been all over him. I knew that first game he was going under, and then naturally starting to learn the route concepts, things of that nature. He's starting to be comfortable, and obviously you want a guy out there who isn't thinking about what route he's running. Now he's thinking about, like what he's going to do after he catches the ball. So anyways, I think coupled with Sony Michelle too.
Coupled with Cooper Kupp, pulled with.
Yep. Yep. I think it's going under, Nick.
I mean, it's possible. So Kupp did have his worst receiving game of the year. The first time these teams played this year, he had 5 catches on 13 targets for 64 yards.
That's a bad night.
Every other game this year, he's had at least 92 yards. His floor is, I think, as high as we've seen in a long time for a wide receiver.
Reminds me of Diggs that last year. Really does.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. I mean, he's seen double-digit targets in every game except for one, and in that one he had 9. He's seen 7+ catches in every game except for the game against the Cardinals earlier where he only had 5. So, I mean, I really think 7 catches on 10 targets for 90 yards is kind of a floor for Kupp. I don't know that I want to go over on this number. It is high. It's really high. 97.5 is a lot of receiving yards. Yeah. But I don't really want to take an under.
It's also interesting how they kind of left it at 7.5. Just juiced it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's going to be 8.5, you probably juice it the other way.
Yeah, I would take 8. I would take 8.5 if I could get it at like plus 120. But see, they wouldn't do that.
No, probably not. Because everyone's going to be on overs, so.
Yep.
Set it up so you juice the overs. Anybody else on the Rams kind of appeal to you in any way, shape, or form?
So I locked in Odell Beckham over 3.5 receptions, and I got it at minus 130. It looks like it's at minus 145. So that's creeping up a little bit. 155. Oh, wow. It's 4.5 now.
On DraftKings, at least. I'm sure with the way that these are juiced, you could definitely see a 3.5 juiced the other way on a different book.
So, Nick, I'm looking at, I know we usually use FanDuel, DraftKings, PointsBet, but Caesars, you can get it at plus 150 over 4.5. If you can find that anywhere, I like that a lot. I think there's value there.
If you can find it anywhere, specifically Caesars.
Specifically Caesars, no. If you can find it anywhere, jump on it. Every model I've seen shows Rondelle Moore as a great play, yards and catches, including bends. Yeah, it's just really interesting. Like, it's one of those. I'm a nerd, and I watch wide receivers specifically run routes sometimes, and I don't even pay attention where the ball's at. And I am gonna key in on him. I'm gonna have a comprehensive report to give everyone.
Okay. Yeah.
Next stream about Rondelle Moore's efficiency. Is he? Oh, also, this was really cool. Sanchez,
Like
Mark Sanchez. Yep, he was announcing the Broncos game. He's coming for Tony Romo's job, man. He was really good at it, at letting us know what plays were coming. He said, "Hey, look at the wide receiver have short splits. They're running an out route. Boom, out route." Thought that was pretty impressive.
I remember the one where he drew the running play on the screen just real quick, didn't say anything before the play, and then that's exactly where he went.
Yeah. He's come a long way from the butt fumble.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like these guys who were quarterbacks know what they're doing. They understand the game.
You know what's funny is, like, some of the best quarterback minds it never translated because they just weren't athletic specimens. Mm-hmm. The guys like Peyton Manning, they have both, right? Yeah. There are a lot of quarterback coaches, like guys like, is it Kellen Moore for the Cowboys? Like, had a good arm, but he was short, right?
Yeah.
Great mind, Tony Romo. I mean, depending on, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I think Tony Romo was a great quarterback. Some people will disagree with me, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they know the game really well.
Yeah, there's a reason that there's a lot of quarterbacks who are good coaches and a lot of quarterbacks, even old quarterbacks, who are announcers.
Larry, Nick's model.
It's Capwise's model.
Yeah. I didn't generate the model because I am not that smart, but
yeah, it's Ben DiNucci's model. That's right.
Ben DiNucci, another great quarterback mind, just doesn't translate on the field.
That's a great quarterback name.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on that. So I think, unless you've got anything else on these guys, that's all. Touchdown props. We can take a quick peek just for fun.
Man, Sony Michelle is at like minus 120. Whew.
Yeah, I'm showing minus 115 on DraftKings.
Boy, that is kind of like it, actually.
Well, I mean, let's see. So, I mean, the model really has the under here. It thinks Cooper Kupp is the best value. Mm-hmm. It has him as 66% or 0.66 touchdowns. That's different from a 66% chance of scoring a touchdown, because you can score 2 touchdowns in a game, and this is like an average. But still. Oh, actually, that just made me think. I should probably put these in terms of a probability as opposed to an average.
Yeah, that could be helpful.
That might make more sense. But anyways, yeah. Cooper
what about who's that backup tight end again?
For
the Rams. It's
well, I mean, the backup tight end is starting today because Higbee's out.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Blankton?
Yeah, something like that. Let me go find the depth chart real quick. I'm
just curious what his number is on DraftKings.
Yeah, so it's Kendall Blanton and Bryson Hopkins are the tight ends for the Rams. We've got Kendall Blanton plus 450 who's probably going to be the starter, and Bryson Hopkins at 550, who's probably the number 2 tight end.
I don't know. I like it. I was hoping it would be like 700 or something, but nah, that wouldn't make sense.
No, yeah,
Maybe if you could catch up that. Maybe if you could have caught the number before Higbee was out.
Yeah,
that's probably what it was at.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, with Higbee being out, I'm sure everyone's like, "Oh, Higbee's out. That means the backup has to be a good value now." So they adjust the number to make it a bad value because people are going to bet it anyways.
Yeah, but is Stafford really looking to throw the ball to him or OBJ on a fade?
We have no idea.
Last minute locks. I like the Cards first half, but looks like your model likes the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, we always like to emphasize there's no such thing as a lock.
Yeah, it's the NFL. It's one of the toughest markets to beat.
Yeah, this is what we like. That doesn't mean we're going to be right. Like to think that we're going to be right more than we're wrong, but doesn't mean that on any given thing that we're going to be off.
What's the T word?
What is a T word?
Yeah, Larry, tell us.
I mean, I know the L word is Larry, and we don't like to say that word.
I know the G word, guarantee. T word, told you so. No.
There's also an S word that I'd like to start cracking down on.
Teaser?
I'd like to start cracking down on the word sprinkle.
Yeah, it sets someone up where if it hits, you're like, told you.
Yeah, and then
if not,
if you lose,
you're like, I sprinkled it.
Yeah, you can say it's a sprinkle. It doesn't count.
That's why, and then you're almost like, that's why I sprinkled it.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's why this guy's got a 70% record on a massive bunch of picks. Mm-hmm. It's because you count all the sprinkle W's and don't count the sprinkle L's.
Yep, exactly. All right, Nick, quick question. Benjamin, where'd he go to college?
Benjamin, where did he go to college? That's an excellent question.
I bet someone in the chat knows.
I'm sure somebody knows.
It's kind of a tough one unless you were, following Pac-12 football last year.
Okay, well, I mean, if it's Pac-12 football, that means we have a 1 in 12 chance. And since it's probably not a big Pac-12 school, since you phrased it that way, it's probably not. Or maybe he wasn't the number 1 guy at that school.
He was.
He was? Okay. I'm going to say, this is your absolute guess. We're going to go Oregon State.
Not a bad guess. It's Arizona State.
Arizona State. It's like the same thing.
Revenge game?
Yeah, true.
What is it? Plus 550 for a touchdown?
For Benjamin?
Hey, you know what?
Yeah, exactly 550, yeah.
He's going to he'll get a few carries.
Yes, Larry, you can start saying that word.
Yeah, we'll give you permission.
You can shart. Just a little shart, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and do our top picks for today's game. And I think this is going to be pretty running back heavy. But Ben, your best bet for tonight's game is...
I'm going to go with Sony Michelle over 68.5 rushing yards. I think he goes for 85 tonight.
Wow.
And a touchdown.
So what book
but
can we
just
find
a sprinkle.
68.5 on?
It's just a sprinkle and a touchdown. I'm showing it on, let's see here, Caesars.
On Caesars? Seizures?
DraftKings has it, but it's minus 130. So I would rather play the 70.
I have DraftKings up. It's 69.5 even.
Ooh, it's gone up.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
If I can't find it on any of these, then I'll pull up Caesars. I do want to show the top bet on stream.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. Let me go find it. Actually, if 69 is there, I think they probably have all gone up.
Yeah, here I'll pull up Caesars.
Let's see if it's still there. I looked like at the beginning of the stream, but
yeah, no, numbers move. We've been live for an hour.
Yep, numbers do move,
and numbers move. No, I don't want to book at Caesars. Why can't I find Oh, there we go. Okay. While I work on pulling this up, though, I'm gonna, or Ben, can you find the link for Caesars and like send it in the chat?
Yep.
But I like James Conner rushing plus receiving, showing that now at over 87 and a half. I think he's going to get 20 carries on the ground. He's going to see some action through the passing game. Just game flow independent going this way. So that's my favorite play today. Making this complicated.
I know. I have to log in. Oh, wait. There we go. All right. Let's see here.
Rushing yards. No, it's 69.5 on Caesars.
Okay. Well, we lost some CLV, but 69.5 over for Sony Michelle. Again, he's getting 85.
All right, you heard it here first. Alternate over.
Yeah.
No.
Get those sliders out on PointsBet.
Uh-huh. I wonder, how degenerate can we get? Can we do like a multiplier on rushing yards?
I was telling Nick right before we got on the stream, I was like, it was about a year ago, Thursday Night Football, I was all over Cam Akers. Like, people were like, yo, is Cam Akers like a friend of yours, the way you're talking about him on the stream? And I'm like, over. I think he hit it in the first quarter. So it's a foreshadow, Nick.
Yeah.
Another Rams running back.
Breakout game for Sony Michelle.
Yeah, breakout game. You
He's
heard it here.
Never had a big game in his career before.
Yeah, minus last week.
Just this young rookie running back.
Yeah, this guy came out of nowhere. I don't even know where he came from. Maybe a Bill Belichick offense. I don't know.
Not like a high draft pick or anything.
Yeah, who knows where this guy came from.
Pretty mediocre career in college.
Yeah. Used to work at Sony. Last name is a name of a girl. It's going over.
His last name is like French.
Michelle.
Michelle. He sounds like a French chef.
Sony Michelle's a pretty unique name. So is Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp.
Fun fact about Cooper Kupp. I played against him in college. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
On the field at the same time. I was on kick return blocking, and he was on the kickoff team. Yeah.
He was FCS Player of the Year.
I guarantee you that
Washington.
He went to the coaches and were like, Coach, I want to be on the fucking kickoff team, because they don't put talented players on the kickoff team. They had to drag them off the field. So props to him. Especially
in college, right? This is a great opportunity to get the ball in the hands of your best player, who's probably, especially Cooper Kupp at Eastern Washington, is a lot better than everyone else on the field.
Yeah, dude's a dog, man.
Yeah, Ben, where did you play?
Northern Colorado. Yeah. If you see P-Walk in the chat on Discord ever, played with him. But he was like 2 times better than I was, so.
Yeah, P-Walk played.
P-Walk was so quick.
Yeah.
Man. Alrighty, Nick. Any last words before Sony Michelle has the best game of his career?
I mean, that would be pretty impressive if he did. But yeah, thank you, Actual Life, Taco, Trey, and Bobcat for the follows. Appreciate those very much. Thanks for checking out the stream. Glad to have you here. Aside from that, though, I got nothing. Just ready to go take the dog out, watch some football. So good luck to everybody tonight on the bets. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. We appreciate it very much. Be sure to check out the Discord if you're new or haven't bothered doing that before. There's a link for that right there. It's free to sign up. Just click the link. Can I play the intro song as the outro? I mean, Ben, what is the...
We should get another one of his songs.
Yeah, we could do like a proper outro. That's probably the next thing to do.
He's got a few good ones.
Ben, what's the name of the song?
Zone by Levi Todd. Watch, I'll put it in the I'll YouTube it right now. 1 sec.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So there you go, Zone.
Yeah, here. This is the song if you want to listen to it. I'm gonna
That's
make
our outro.
gonna make a exclamation mark intro. So
It's going to be weird, though, when you listen to it and you're like, where's Alpha, the girl? It's kind of like when you hear a TikTok song over and over for like 15 seconds, and then you hear the full song, and you're like, wait, that's the song? That happens to me all the time.
I can see why they chose the 15 seconds that they did.
Yeah, you're like, it all makes sense now. Alrighty, guys.
Yeah, anyways, yeah, that's going to wrap up the stream. We'll be back on Thursday with whoever's playing Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I don't even know.
We'll see. We've got 32 teams. It'll be 2 of them. We can say that much. But yeah,
all right,
good
guys.
luck, and catch you next time.
See ya.